Hey, what's up? I'm Josh, and this is my house. Yes, I painted this, embarrassingly enough. I know I paint like a 5 year old, but it's fun and I like it, and that's all that matters. So, you're probably thinking already CIA English. God, man, another worthless teaching acronym. But let me just take a moment to explain to you what it means to me, and hopefully this is a workshop, and workshops are all about just generating ideas for yourself and taking them, leaving them, doing whatever you want with them. So enjoy the story. I was teaching in Taiwan for 5 years, probably 5,000 hours in the classroom. Right at that 5,000th hour, I kind of cracked. My style was fun, exciting, kind of traditional, like the kind of like bushy bond teacher style. Let's say we're teaching a lesson on colors. I'd come in with my cool PowerPoint and have some cool PowerPoint games to go with it. And we would just run through between 4 to 8 colors for the day. What color is it? It is yellow, blah, blah, blah. You probably can kind of guess how that went. For the stronger students, if you presented them with the teaching material that you used that day, of course, for 2 or 3 weeks, man, they got it. It looks perfect. Like especially if there's an observer or professor coming into your class, they're like, "Wow, these kids are really on fire." But deep down, they're gonna forget that stuff in like 2 weeks. And for the weaker students, usually when it was their turn to talk, either the co-teacher would give them the answer or the other students would give them the answer, and so they were learning nothing, and the stronger students were learning a little bit and holding on to that information for like 2 weeks. So in that 5,000th hour, I cracked. I was like, man, I cannot freaking do this anymore. I just no. And so I stopped the class, just dead in the middle of the track, dead in the middle of class. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not. And the class was going fine. I'm just stood there for like 30 seconds until I could think of something. Saw some paper on the desk. Next thing I thought of was stand up. Next thing I thought of, just the first thing that came to my mind was, can I have? They all say it. One paper, please. What comes next? Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Had the co-teacher demonstrate this with conversation with me. Then I gave the co-teacher the piece of paper, obviously. And then the students got their talking to in Chinese, which always freaks them out because I sound angry and it's just awkward. But I'm like, listen, man, I was just saying this in Chinese. I'm like, you guys are not, this co-teacher is not going to help you. You guys are going to stand here. If we have to stand here until the end of the year, and you're going to figure this, every one of you are going to figure this out on your own. And I'm like, whoa, dude, where's fun Josh? But anyway, they all figured that out the first time. Now, this probably sounds like nothing, but I really feel like it was kind of like the birthplace of a whole more practical, for me anyway, just a more practical teaching method, something that I can use where if the students go on winter vacation, they're not going to just forget everything I taught the previous semester, which we're going to go into a little bit more today of how I kind of go through the whole entire class and how I go about the whole entire year. And one more quick story to finish that first year off, which helped me further solidify my decision to keep going with that same strategy. It was the last day of the year, and there was this kid in my third grade class. I call him King Ed. And King Ed was the nicest kid you ever met in your life, but he was terrible at English, he was terrible at math, he was terrible at Chinese, he was terrible at baseball, he was terrible at everything, but he laughed about everything. He was awesome. He was the kind of kid, I described him once as the kind of kid that you would put the fluffy dice in his hands during a game of catch the dice, and he would drop the dice and go, "Ah!" Sorry, I'm not trying to pick on King Ed. I love King Ed to death, but that's how things went. So, anyway, the last day of the year, we had gone through, as I said, we're going to talk today. I'm going to explain to you my system, and we had gone through this whole system the entire year. And the thing that really stood out to me was on the last day of the year, I told that class with King Ed, stand up. We were going outside, and they all just had to say, "Can we go outside, please?" "Okay, thank you, you're welcome." And when it came time for his turn to talk, first the co-teacher went over and she tried to give him the answer, and then when a student was trying to give him the answer, and he looked at both of them, he's like, "No, wakai, wakai." It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my teaching career in Taiwan, because usually the students tend to give up so easily, and like just this third grade kid had developed this attitude of like, "No, man, I can do it." I'm not gonna lie, I cried like a baby after that class was over. So anyway, that's the birthplace of CIA English. I hope you enjoyed the story, and let's get back to the workshop.